Hello and welcome back to this beautiful video series we're doing in Berlin at Shanay's house. And we've just gathered to share a little bit about our journeys here in Berlin as doulas, as birth workers, as guardians of birth, and as women collaborating, co-creating community. And so I just would like to hear Shanay's story about how did you come to Berlin, how did you come to be a doula, and what inspires you about this work?
Well, it kind of started when I was little. I was year 7 and we had to write what we wanted to be when we were older, and I wrote midwife. And I used to wake up in the morning and watch, it's on the Discovery Channel, it's called Birthday, and it was these like ER like situations where it's like, but I loved it. I loved seeing babies be born. And then, my career kind of took another path into a completely different world. And then I moved to New York, and I'm skipping a lot of information, but you don't need to know that.
She became a model.
Yeah, and then, which is complete opposite. And then I moved to New York. I lived there for 3 years and planned a pregnancy at 22, which is insane. But I always wanted to be a young mum because my mum was young. And then so I became pregnant in New York. I was an Australian living in New York. I was freaked out and had no one. And so I'm just like, okay. So I was reaching 2 months pregnant. It took me around 10 months to get pregnant. For I don't know why. I think just that timing is key. And then I finally fell pregnant, and then I watched this amazing documentary, Business of Being Born. And I was like, you can have a home birth? And I was like, okay, well, this is, it depends, you've got this drawn, in when you become pregnant, you're just like, okay, I want this. And so I found a midwife, Cara Mulhan, from the documentary, and she was just like my mother, that she reminded me of my mum a lot, and I loved that in a midwife. And she was tough love, which I loved. I needed someone to be like, you can do this, da da da. And then she was like, do you have a doula? And I'm like, what the hell is a doula? What are you talking about? And so I interviewed doulas and hired a doula, and she was wonderful. I had a massive girl crush on her, and
she's a beautiful woman.
She's incredible. And
you know her too.
I had my training at her house, but I don't know her at all.
But you saw her.
I saw her walking through and was like, wow.
Yeah. And so that's why I hired her. And because, her story was incredible. She had a 3-day home birth, ended up with, that's her birth story. But I knew that this woman was right for me because I knew she knew every aspect of birth, and I just loved looking at her. And so, my birth came, and my midwife was there. My midwife was hugging me, and which I was just so grateful for. I remember she was she was sitting at the table doing some paperwork, and I've just leaned in front of her, I was walking around her so she would look at me and pay me attention, because I was like, is this normal? And I would just lean. I was naked. I was just leaning in front of her, and then she just got up out of her seat and she just lifted me in her arms, and she just gave me the biggest hug, and I was just like, that's all I needed, okay. Got on with it. So I had an 8-hour birth. I loved my birth, and just being pregnant, I just became obsessed. I just found gurus like Ina May Gaskin and Michelle O'Don.
We were joking before and saying, actually, this is like the Michelle O'Don devotee club.
Exactly. We're kind of obsessed, or with him. And then I had my daughter, and then about 6 months, when she was 6 months old, we moved to Berlin, where we moved here for his art. And I was literally a mum for just 2 years. I was just a milk machine. Kind of gave it up. But then I started thinking I'm still thinking about birth. I was still reading birth stories. I was still into it. I would rewatch my birth video, my pictures, and I would always be that friend that was like, Shanay, I'm pregnant, what do I do? I'm like, well, you have to do this, you guiding them in a nice way, because they thought I was crazy because I wanted to give birth again. You know, they were like, what? Birth is awful. Da, da, da. I'm like, no, but it's not. It's like, it's a different thing. So, yeah, and I did my studies in Austria, and I went to London also, and it took me like a year and a half. And yeah, I'm been practicing for that long, and I've done nearly 30 births. Everyone is completely different, and I'm learning constantly. I don't think you ever stop learning with this, especially if you've, you know, done a few. But yeah, I'm loving it, and all my clients are very different, and I think what bonds us together is we're all expats, and you know, we're looking for that support and that inspiration and that grounding, and yeah, and yeah, and I also do placenta encapsulations as well. But being a birth doula is like my main thing.
But what I really love about Shanay, because we did an interview actually a little while ago, which I haven't processed yet. But one of the things that you mentioned in that, which I thought was so beautiful, was like is about beauty, or like about the celebration of birth. And Shanay said something along the lines of, you know, having a doula is kind of like having a beautiful wedding dress, which
Totally.
is like, I don't want it to sound superficial. I don't think you meant it in that way. It was like, it can be beautiful. Like, what I got from that statement was that as women, we can celebrate that. We can like have the beauty, also have you know, have all the medical support, have the emotional support, the therapeutic support, whatever we need, like the whole spectrum. And what I loved about that statement was like, and it can be like yummy, delicious, like completely supported, beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
I really thought it was really very sweet also, like as a metaphor.
Well, because I think I was comparing it to, I'd rather like give birth and get married or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's my wedding day. My birth was because you're going to be talking about it the rest of your life, you know, and you think you can plan it, but you know, you should look into it. But also people plan weddings also and do all this energy, but then it's like, but you're having a baby as well. So it's a big life event as well.
And two, I mean, one of the topics that is obviously here with it being something that people have to pay for privately, and I've had these conversations with women, you know, and a lot of women say to me afterwards, they say, look, I mean, wow, how much money we spend on this object or the pram or that thing or like all the baby gear, and in the end, that's your experience, that's what you take away with you, that's what is living in your bones.
Absolutely. We're worth every penny, let me tell you. No, yes. Thank you,
Shanay, for sharing your story. And it's so cool. I mean, it was so cool for me to meet you because I just find it so lovely and beautiful. I always feel so touched to meet women where we have that, there's some kind of shared understanding because of working with birth. There's something, you know, within everybody who works with birth that we understand each other, because we're kind of dealing with that thin veil of mystery.
Totally.
And it's a very soulful thing, so I'm always really grateful and really happy that we met.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.